Oh man, we better get this.
Trolling?
Yeah, someone was like, "Are you trolling for
No.
trolling with the lacquer?" Hey everybody, this is Matt, and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. It's 5:00. It's Thursday. It's time for Prime Time Guitar Live, and I believe that we have a doozy, a humdinger of a show tonight, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely a humdinger of a topic.
I'm gonna try and move this as far away as I can.
Okay.
Still be able to work it.
I'm gonna put this right here so it says guitar lacquer.
My old man mouse pad.
No, hey, my old man mouse pad.
Old man mouse pad. I can't see anything.
We had we are running a little bit late today because we had Anthony Russo from Anthony Russo Band in the shop, and we were doing a quick bit of work for him, and we kind of lost track of time, but we didn't forget about y'all.
No.
So yeah. So Chris, how are you today?
I'm good.
You have been feeling a little bit under the weather.
Yeah, since last Friday. I don't know if anybody noticed that last Friday. I noticed it when I rewatched the thing.
Yeah.
I was like, man. I was not feeling all that great.
Are you feeling better now, though?
I've officially turned the corner.
Good.
That's
Sudafed for you.
I don't. I'm not a fan.
Green chili?
No.
Also good.
Burn it out of you. Yeah, alcohol kills germs.
That's what Jimmy says.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people before.
Sure.
No, it just takes time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You just gotta ride it out.
Yep. So I'm not going to be sick for a second weekend in a row.
Good for you.
I'm forcing myself to get better.
And we have. It looks like you're forcing yourself to
forcing something.
And we've got a bunch of guitars that are like really close to being done. A bunch. We've got a mega huge reveal for tomorrow, right?
Well, we have,
There's
how many?
I don't know.
We showed off quite a few last week. Well, we can show off
just
quite a few
wait.
This week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's guitar assembly time.
Yep.
Right now, so lots and lots of guitars are getting assembled. All the parts finally came in. It's amazing. You can't finish a guitar if you're missing one part.
Even one little part,
depending on the order and stuff. You can't go back and do.
Yeah.
So you just kind of stop and anyway.
Yep. So, okay, without further ado, gang, this is a topic that kind of came up a little bit last Thursday, and I thought it was so polarizing that let's talk about it again today. Now, Chris, let me ask you something. Do you know what conical radius is on a guitar?
Yes.
Okay. Do you care if anybody in the world wants to have one or doesn't want to have one?
Do I care?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I want to say something else. I know what a conical radius is. And I don't care if anyone has one or wants one or doesn't want one.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Okay.
So remember that, because people are going to be telling me, well, I don't know what they're going to say.
But I think we're here to explain what conical radius is.
Yes.
How to determine.
Yes.
What a conical radius is.
Yes.
What it does theoretically.
Yep.
What it does. Yeah. Just
what it does when everything is perfect. What it doesn't do if one thing is off, and why you may or may not want one. And if you do or don't, and I can't stress this enough, Chris and I don't care. This is merely an informational thing. But here's the other thing. We want to know what you guys think. Now, I know I said I don't care, but I'm interested in what you think.
Yeah.
But if you want one, cool. If you don't want one, rock
on it.
Yeah.
For your own.
Yeah.
And I have my own opinion.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that my opinion or your opinion is right.
Nope.
Our opinions are the same.
Nope. Okay. So as always, guys, if you have a question, if you have a comment, try to let me know by putting a bunch of something in the comment section, like Paul Needs did, who put a bunch of question marks, and he says, "Hey Matt, never knew you were a Johnny Thunders fan. Saw him in London a couple times and played loads of his song in my band." That's cool, man. I am a Johnny Thunders fan. Though not I think I am a Johnny Thunders fan because I'm a Dee Dee Ramone fan. And if you know, that makes perfect sense. So yeah. Okay, Dan writes, seems like a shit ton of work for no discernible result. Okay, Dan, we're gonna get to that. Okay, so Chris, why don't you tell everybody? So there might be some people who are like, well, what in the hell is this compound radius, conical radius? What I would like for you to do is describe what it is and tell the people the first time you heard about it.
Okay, well, let's first start with what a radius is.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people, I've seen diagrams on websites,
Yeah,
that seem to make they use drawings to kind of emphasize the point that a smaller number, a 7-inch radius, is a tighter bend than a 12-inch.
I'm looking at one right here.
Yeah, that's one right there. Yeah. So a radius is not the diameter of a circle.
So wait a minute. So what's okay? So for those of us who
play with 10, because 10 is an easy square number.
All right. Okay.
So a radius is half
of a circle.
Of a circle.
So from the center of the circle to the edge, that's a radius.
That's a radius.
Okay.
So at the furthest point, a 10-inch radius is 20 inches in diameter. So you're drawing a circle like that.
Okay.
Okay. Now you're utilizing at the top end of that circle, you're utilizing at the most 2 3/16 of the cross section of that circle.
But sometimes in pictures
of a guitar,
to emphasize the point, they use very small circles to make it look like, oh yeah, that's a
because that you can visualize that versus that a little bit better. So there you go. Okay. That's a radius.
All right.
Okay. So the difference between.
So what are they talking about on a radius on a fretboard?
So they're talking about the top of that curvature, cross section of that is at the most 2 3/16. So you have to find a point on that circle. You can find it anywhere around the circle.
Yep.
But you have to go 2 3/16 from there to there, and that's the max. And that would be at the 22nd or 24th fret, however many frets your guitar
depending
has.
on the measurements of your neck width. And
yes.
Stuff. Okay.
The neck width is the maximum that radius is going to allow.
Okay. So if you guys have any questions about what a radius is, or where to find it on your guitar, or how to find it on your guitar, please let me know.
Yep.
Okay. So what is a conical radius and what is a compound radius?
Well, so as I understand it, a conical radius is really what we're talking about with a guitar, because it's a gradual increase or decrease, depending on how you make your radius or your change of the radius. A compound would be like if it was 10 here and 10 in the middle, and then it magically turned to 12 at the end.
Sure, it's not necessarily a smooth transition.
Correct.
It's multiple radii. May or may not be smooth. So a conical radius is a compound radius, but not all compound radiuses are conical radiuses.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but compound sounds better.
It does.
So I think that's why.
Let's take a super chat from Brian Duncan, who says, "Happy Friday Eve, y'all." Happy Friday to you too, Brian.
Happy Friday Eve, Brian. Sorry I missed your thing last weekend.
You were a little sick.
I was sick.
Yeah, you didn't want to. Yeah, you don't want to get everybody sick.
Other people sick either.
Okay, so and when was the first time you heard about compound? The term compound?
The first time I saw it was on the Warmoth website, looking at necks, and they were touting, the big revolution in.
The first time
necks.
I heard about compound radius was also from Warmoth, but it was in a magazine. It was before there was the internet.
Yeah, it was in a magazine.
It was in the late 80s. And we were all like, oh, yeah, man.
And they had very, very small radiuses to show the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
And and now that does not mean that Warmoth invented it, that Warmoth has the exclusive rights to it, but it does mean that that's where Chris and I first heard of it way back in the 80s.
And we're so on top of everything guitar
Yeah, that's right.
Probably
When we
was.
were 16, boy, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
So
in college, when I
yeah.
would rather do anything but
Mhm.
actual college.
Let's take a quick super chat from Trevor, who says, "A beer in exchange for the best and most entertaining geometry lesson I've ever had." God bless you, Trevor. Thank you so much. Someone's at the door. It's Maui. Hey, so yeah. So anyway, so the notion of a compound or conical radius was something that I did not have any idea of what it was until like I said, I heard about it from Warmoth, and again, that does not mean that Warmoth has the exclusive rights to it, but that does mean that that is the first time I heard about it. And the idea, as they pointed out, was that you can play chords really easy, or the problem with every guitar neck was that you can either play chords or you can solo. And if you have the tighter the smaller the radius number, 10 say, or 7 1/4, whatever, the easier it is to play chords. And the flatter the radius is, the bigger the number, the easier it is to solo. So we were all like, oh yeah, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
You can either play chords or solo. You can't do both. That's not what they said, but that's what they alluded to.
But yeah, makes chording easier. I think
Yes.
that's actually a phrase that I remember.
And doesn't fret out.
Does not fret out.
So
or super low action.
Yes. So the idea was that if you had a 7 1/4 radius fretboard, chords were easy, but as you started to bend things, it would fret out.
With super low action.
With super low action. And that's what you want. Super low action.
Super low action.
Okay. So Warmoth comes up with this thing, and then they market it. They come up with a marketing concept for it, rather, and boom, everybody wants it. To Warmoth's credit. Good job, Warmoth.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem is that if you had a 12-inch radius, you, like every Gibson just about ever had, well, you somehow were able to play chords and you were somehow able to solo as well. If you were a Gibson guy.
Yeah. Have you ever heard a Gibson guy say, I just can't play chords on this guitar?
No, I never have. Never heard Joe Perry or Angus Young or anybody else who's a famous Gibson player say that.
12-inch radius.
I never heard anybody from Creedence Clearwater Revival, famous Les Paul players who lots of chords, ever say, gosh, I just can't play chords on this.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have heard people say that on a tighter radius, 7 1/4, like the original Fender stuff, that you could fret out easy.
And I think that's a real thing.
I think that's a real thing.
Yeah. Especially if you want really low action. It could be a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to remember to keep my opinion to myself.
I do too.
We just discussed the facts.
This is only factual. We haven't gotten to the opinion part yet.
We have not gotten to that. So have we established what a compound or a conical radius is?
I believe we have, and we're going to take a super chat from Rick B, who says, because nobody puts baby in the corner without a beer, that is. So here's to you, Rick. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the problem as I see it in 2023 is that much of the allure of the conical or compound radius is theoretical.
Yeah. It's all the stuff we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Easier chording, lower action for soloing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because the action at the nut, if it's set up right, it's not going to get any lower.
You're right. You're right. At the nut,
first three
it can't possibly be
areas.
Can't possibly be any lower than that.
So it's just got to all be about the curve of the fingerboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again and again, I think Warmoth has always been 10 to 16. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. 10-inch radius at the nut, 16 at the last fret.
Okay.
and something in between, everywhere in between. So at some point, you've got a 10-inch radius, and then let's say at the, I don't know, third fret, you have an 11-inch. I don't know. I'm just guessing. And at the fifth fret, you have a 12-inch radius, or whatever it is.
Halfway through the neck, if it's 10 to 16, it's got to be
It's going to be 14 somewhere there.
Or
Yeah.
13 and a half.
Something.
13. Yeah. 13
Yeah.
in the middle of the neck. And so from there to the first is going to be gradually less than 13. And past
now, everyone's here that feverish typing. That'd be the 12th fret, dummy. No, at the end of the fretboard or the middle of the fretboard.
Because we're talking about from the nut to the last fret on the fingerboard.
Yep.
Right.
When we're talking about radius
and
of the fretboard, that's what we're talking about.
Correct. We are not talking about the scale length.
That's right.
Which is the way they should do it.
Which is the way they should do it.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. Now that does bring us to another interesting idea, which is that if it's 10 at the nut and 13 somewhere else and 16 at the end of the neck, that means that it's 18, 19, 20 by the time you get to the bridge. And if you go on to infinity, it eventually gets to be like 150 or 5,000 or whatever. If you keep going on a long enough.
Yeah.
So
does it ever get flat?
I would imagine at some point it would start to go the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know. On a long enough line.
Somebody could probably figure that out.
Somebody probably has. Yeah. So, okay. So again, we're just talking about the theory behind this. So imagine, if you will, 10-inch at the nut, 16 at the end of the fretboard, somewhere in the middle of that, it's 13. And at the bridge location, at the scale location, it's got to be, let's just say for the sake of conversation, 20 inches. Again, that's probably not.
Why do you need it to be 20 inches?
You don't need it to be 20 inches, but it's just going to be that.
But why not just leave it at 16?
Because it's a cone and it doesn't just stop.
Right.
So
what is a 16-inch? If you use a bridge that's 16 inches, what is that going to do?
Well, it's going to then so imagine this. What you need to have is a 10-inch nut to match your 10-inch radius at the nut. You need to have your strings be, I don't know what, let's say 50 thousandths from the tops of the frets to the bottoms of the strings at the 22nd or 24th or whatever fret. And then you have to have a bridge that matches that so that it can actually, or be adjustable so that it can match that, so that you can set your action to as low as you want it to be from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string, whatever you happen to like. For easy math, let's say 50 thousandths. Yeah.
Not just the outside string.
That's right.
Yeah. Each and every string.
That's right.
Be the same or very, very close.
Needs to be consistent
from the,
that's right, fret
to the bottom of the string.
That's right. And guys, the comments are coming in fast and furious, and we're getting to all of them. So Rockbox says 10 to 16, I think, is what most of the Jacksons have been for nearly forever. K Sharp says action height probably affects playability more than radius. NJS Guitars says 12 to 16 on the Jackson, I think. Lefty O says break out your slide rules. Fat Philosopher says I always thought 12 to 16 were more common than 10 to 16. I have a 9.5 to 20. Don't feel much difference from a 12. SS, who is always hilarious, says Warmworth offers a reverse inside conical radius, so your fretboard looks like the inside of a banana boat. He also uses the F word. Okay. All right. So Brandon says worm farm. Hi, Brandon. Okay. So if your bridge radius is not whatever that is, your theoretical advantage is moot.
Yes.
It sets you up for an action issue.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So if you decide that you're getting a conical or compound radius, the worst bridge you can get is a two-pneumatic. Absolutely the worst bridge you can get for that. Because they're usually 12 inches radius. And in order to adjust that, you need to get your file out. Okay. Yeah. So it's a terrible choice. The best bridge is probably like any of the Fender stuff with adjustable saddles.
Yeah. Where every saddle is adjustable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because then you can check your string height.
Yeah.
With a suitable gauge.
Yeah, that's right. With actual measurements.
Yeah. Instead of going by feel or putting a pick under it as you push down.
Yeah, which is not a way to measure stuff, which we won't get into. If you have a Floyd Rose, it's very easy to get a nut radius that matches the whatever your conical radius is at the nut.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy to do, 10, 12, whatever that is. Not so easy to get a Floyd bridge to match that. If you buy a Floyd bridge with a 10-inch nut or a 12-inch nut or whatever inch nut, the bridge is going to match. You will have to shim the bridge to get the radius that you want. If you are into the Kaler, you can adjust it like a Strat one. So that might be that's where a Kaler is actually better than a Floyd.
Yep, 6 individually adjustable saddles.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick super chat from Dylan Talks Tone, who says people don't think about how flattened bridge radius affects your right hand. That can be flat and uncomfortable too. Well, and that's just it. So if you don't match the bridge radius to your ever flattening radius, it's not. Yeah, it's gonna feel differently
in a world of thousandths.
Yep,
a couple make a difference.
Yep.
And the other thing is, and Matt and I were talking about this the other day, it's been drilled into all of our heads that your bridge has to match the radius of the neck. Otherwise, it's just not going to be.
That's why
a good playing guitar.
That's why the Tune-O-Matic is 12 and 12. Gibson uses 12.
Yeah, and it's a real thing. And so if you in some ways you're kind of hamstringing yourself. Well, if you don't match, as it goes.
Yep.
Yeah. If you stop at 16 and put a 16-inch radius bridge on your compound radius neck, it's not going to be everything it could be.
Nope.
It might be okay.
But it's actually going to be.
Strings aren't going to be the same height. Yeah. Your E's might be the same.
If what you're going for is
wonky.
Is uniformly low action, you have to have a bridge that matches whatever the radius is at the scale line.
Yep.
Jerry J. Stone says, "Does anybody do flat on electric, and why would that not be a problem?" Well, as a matter of fact, Jerry J., I can think of two guys who do that.
Yeah.
This guy,
I did it,
and this guy.
Yep.
We used to do a thing called the infinity radius, and it was dead flat.
Yeah, we made a guitar, and I haven't played a lot of really, really flat radiuses. And I was like, and so we were making this thing, and I was like, I'm going to put a 20-inch radius on this.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the gauge, and I'm like, I'm just going to make it flat. I want to see what that's. If I want to know what the difference is between 10 and 20, or 10 and I'm going to make it as flat as I can possibly make it. And so that's what we did.
Yep.
And it played fine.
Yep.
It played really well. It was weird to look at.
I mean, classical guitars are flat.
Yeah.
And mostly tradition, for reasons of tradition. And Dylan has a great quote about tradition being peer pressure from dead people.
Yeah.
But they are, and you can play chords on a classical guitar. It's not impossible.
Yeah, that was the thing. Was can I play chords on it? Can I bend notes? You can bend a note so far you break the string off the guitar. I actually
will not.
took the low E and forced it and just kept pushing down, and it never fretted out, and it broke the string.
So absolutely, you can do that. Paul Need says string spacing could be an issue with F bridges. Those individual anchor bridge plates would be better. They may very well be too, Paul. But we're talking about very, very small amounts of difference. As a matter of fact, that brings a great point. And I want to take a quick super chat from Brian Duncan. But first, I want to say, Chris and I did some experimenting with our radius sander will do conical radiuses. And we made a 10 to 16 inch radius fretboard. The maximum deviation, meaning this is as the worst that it gets, is 11 thousandths, meaning that if you put a 16-inch radius gauge or if you put a 10-inch
10-inch
radius
radius
gauge on a 16-inch radius neck, you can barely fit an 11,000th feeler gauge in that space.
And what is an 11,000th feeler gauge? What else is an 11,000th?
3 sheets of paper, 4 sheets of paper, something like that.
Slightly more than your high E string.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, and that's the maximum amount.
That's at the
that's in the middle.
That's of the fretboard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but at the last fret.
Yeah, that's right. It's at the last fret in the middle. In the middle.
Uh-huh. So. And the funny thing about that is, as you move that feeler gauge down, by about the 12th fret, it's almost imperceptible.
Yep.
It's almost hard to get light to shine through that space. Yep. It's so little. And by the nut.
Now, that does not mean that it is not theoretically superior in every way. Yeah. And it does not mean that Chris or I care if you want one.
No, if you want one.
You want one, you should have it. Rock
but
it.
You should go into it knowing the ins and outs. And
that's right.
The possible pitfalls of all of this.
That's right. Now, let's take a quick super chat from my buddy Brian Duncan. He says, as a 65-year-old naturally relic guitar player, playing it since I was 13 or so, I really don't give a shit about the fretboard radius. I care much more about the back of the neck profile. You know, Brian, that's funny because I can think of some other guitar players who are getting a little long in the tooth who also don't care. Chris, just for fun, we're looking at the Ibanez website on Chris's.
We are.
Can we agree that Joe Satriani is kind of getting up there in age?
Yep.
He has the haircut to prove it.
Yeah, he does.
So Joe Satriani's signature model guitar is the JS 480. Let's just say that one.
The 480?
Okay. The 480. What's the radius on that? Now, you guys can look this up on the Ibanez website like we're doing right now.
Yep.
What do we got here?
Radius is 250 millimeters.
Okay, so...
which is, I think, right around 10. Actually, I know for a fact that it's basically 10.
Okay.
It's 9.5.
So does it say it's a conical radius or compound? All right, so it's a straight 10.
Straight 10.
Are there any other, just out of curiosity, are there any other like Ibanez like endorsed artists who have like who's the most famous, most awesome Ibanez player besides Joe Satriani?
Well, let's do two of them.
Okay.
Let's do Steve Vai.
Okay, Steve Vai. I've heard of him.
More modern than
I know that guy. He played for Frank Zappa. He basically replaced Eddie Van Halen. What is
when you're going to bring it?
Yeah, what is Steve? Yeah, what is
Steve Vai?
What is Steve? He's got to have a compound radius, right?
Nope, his radius is 430 millimeters.
So right about 16, 17.
254. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was 16 and a quarter or something like that.
You think Steve Vai has any problems playing chords on that neck?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Okay.
What about somebody more modern?
Yeah.
Somebody like Nina Strauss.
Nina Strauss. Okay, everyone loves her.
Everybody loves her.
I saw the line of people waiting, the jamokes waiting to like get her to like autograph their dental chart or whatever. All right, what has she got for a radius? Surely she has to have a
430.
430.
Yep.
Wow.
Same as Steve.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Yep. Cool.
So yeah. Okay. So Silver Brushman says Slash. Yeah, I think Slash probably plays a straight 12.
Yep, probably.
Okay. Dylan wants to know, do Ibanez players do boomer bends though? I don't know. You know who probably does boomer bends?
Boomer bend.
Let's.
How does a compound radius help with a boomer bend?
Who do you think is the most boomer bendy guy of all time? I'm gonna guess Jeff Beck. Just out of curiosity, Chris, if we went to the Fender website and looked up the Jeff Beck signature model, I happen to know what it is. Yeah. It's 9.5. It's 9.5. And it's not a conical radius. It's not a compound. It's 9.5. And Jeff Beck probably goes, I don't care. I'll just play the guitar.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, put a humbucker in there.
So, and guys, you don't have to take my word for it. No. This information is out there. You can just get it.
Yeah.
Just like Chris and I did. Now, you know what someone's going to say? They're going to go to the EVH website and look up the Wolfgang blah, 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 super expensive, super cool Wolfgang guitar. Absolutely has a conical radius fretboard.
It does.
Now, I submit to you, everything you liked that was recorded by Van Halen, not recorded with a conical radius neck.
Nope.
Prove me wrong. You can look it up. Okay.
Yeah, whatever Boogie was making, whatever Chandler was making.
Yeah.
Yep. Charvel. Yep.
Mark in the mix says this just arrived here. This is a great discussion. Thank you so much, Mark. That's awesome. Ken Tipton wants to know, what about the Yawingwi? He actually said Ingve.
I don't know. We had one of those. I can't imagine it's got a conical radius.
if it's
the rest
scalloped
of that shit going on,
I would be shocked and amazed if it was 9 and a anything but 9.5.
Set it up. Yeah, I think it's 9.5. Yeah.
Okay.
He's very, very traditional in his strats, except for the scallop board and his pickups.
We got any other websites pulled up with maybe some other famous guitar players?
I got some ESP.
All right, so yeah, what is who plays ESP?
A bunch of guys I don't know. George Lynch.
I've heard of that guy. Let's see if George Lynch has a conical radius. He's an aficionado. He would have to know.
He's a guy that's on top of the modern guitar.
Mm-hmm. Paul Need says Ken Tipton fretboard radius or scallop radius. Yeah, Rudy Shankar. I don't know the answer. Aaron Claflin is a good bender fella.
And he made famous bending on a bunch of 7 1/4 strats.
Who's that?
Aaron Claflin.
Aaron Claflin. Yeah.
So George Lynch is a 305 millimeter.
305, probably 12 or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 12. It's got to be 12 in millimeters. This damn metric thing.
Yeah.
So it's 12 and a half, something like that. But anyway,
who else is playing for
ESP?
For ESP.
Let's get somebody a little. Oh well.
Hey, Glenn Tipton, who's probably related to Ken Tipton, wants to know what.
Let me tell you something.
All right, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna tell me something?
Yeah.
Glenn Tipton. Let me tell you something. Priest is the best.
Is the best. Second, Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Glenn is also a 350 millimeter.
Okay, not a conical radius.
Nope.
And I think you can also look up.
He's also a Kaler guy.
He is also a Kaler guy. That's right.
Wow, man. Good for Glenn.
Okay, so Mark in the mix says Warmoth by default pushes their 10 to 16 degree radius. To me, it seems a bit extreme. Thoughts? It doesn't seem like it's. It seems like it's cool, and if you like that, then that's totally cool.
I'm not quite sure why they came up with it. I have some theories. But whatever.
Okay. Jerry J. Stone says, did Fender ever do a compound conical? Probably. I don't know.
Ever do?
I'm sure that they did.
I think it's something that you can get.
Yeah.
I don't think any production guitar that they have. Maybe something really, really modern.
Perhaps. Yeah.
But I haven't checked into it. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where if you think you have to have it, if you've read all the stuff,
yep,
then it might be a thing that's going to stop you from buying a guitar. So some companies are going to offer up something with it. But it's, for me, it's a question in search of an answer. It's an answer in search of a question.
It really is.
I think one of the reasons that Warmoth does it is because it makes setting up necks in the radius jig easier to make look correct, because as you go,
that's right,
the reveal of dark wood or other wood gets thinner as you get further down the neck. So the amount of rosewood at the first fret is thicker looking,
appears thicker on the edge than
the other end, because you're taking off more of the edge. It's a whole mind thing. But anyway, I think that's one of the reasons that they came up with it. So
Rod H sent us $10 and says, is it too late to get a conical radius on a fretboard of my JJJ?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, your JJJ has strings on it right now.
If it doesn't have strings, it has strings.
Doc just showed up. Hi, Doc. How you doing? Johnny Guitar, I think, was talking about a Fender that he had that had a 10 to 14 on it.
Okay.
I'm sure that you can find production guitars with conical radius fretboards. It sounds to me like Jackson did that on everything. I don't know. I know that the EVH stuff has compound conical radius fretboards. Let's talk about some of the pitfalls of doing that. So as a guitar builder, Chris, we have a sanding rig that is easy it's a breeze to do a compound radius fretboard.
Yeah.
You set one side up to be, let's say 10, and one side up to be, let's say 16. And you swing it through there and it's perfect every time.
Yep.
That's only half of the battle though.
That's actually that's not even a battle.
Getting the radius with our rig is actually quite easy. The reason that we charge more for a conical radius fretboard and Warmoth charges more for a straight radius fretboard is because we're jigged up to do straight and they're jigged up to do the other thing. So anytime they have to reset the machine, there's a reset the machine fee. It's whatever it is, whatever the gouge charge is. So, and guys, I can't stress this enough. Don't tell me I'll do it on my CNC machine because you gotta sand it. You got to sand it. I don't care how good your CNC machine is. I don't care. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, if you are cutting your radius on a CNC machine, you have to sand it to get it smooth, to get it to look right. I don't care what you say. And I would be willing to bet you that Warmoth agrees with me and sands all their fretboards. That's why they charge more for the straight radius. Okay. But let's talk about some of the, so what if you didn't have the radiusing rig that we have or Warmoth has or whomever has?
I don't even really know how you would do it except for many different blocks.
Well, I can tell you one way to do it.
Careful. I mean, I can do a reverse.
Yes,
I can go 10 to 7 1/4.
So our good friend Steve at Maximum Guitar Works does have a radius call that is a compound radius. So it's long and it goes from 10 to 16. And yeah, and if you go back and forth very, very small amounts, you can do it with that. Now, that's not the way he wants you to use it, but you could do it that way.
Yeah.
You could take a bunch of different radius blocks and get pretty close. You could actually have a compound radius that wasn't necessarily conical, but was pretty close. But other than that, let's see what the peanut gallery has to say here. Just seems like leveling frets and dialing the setup is easier on a straight radius, at least for a guy at home. It absolutely is, sir. Dave Mustaine plays a straight 16. Thank you, Fat Philosopher. What if you 3D printed a radius block? What if? That's a good idea, actually. What CNC users say you don't have to sand? We all know we have to sand. Thank you, Brandon. You have to sand. My Jimmy Vaughn has a 12-inch radius neck, and it's a great one too. Jim Murray says $35 more for anything other than a 10. So when Warmoth charges you $35 to set, it's probably to set up the tool.
Yeah,
that's what makes sense to me. Paul Need says you guys have a kids product called Meccano. I think I need to build a TTG phone board pro. Paul, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea. Please help me out here. Lonnie Max Garage says I do compound radius on my ukulele. It's pretty easy with my CNC, and I have to sand it for sure. Thank you so much, sir. Fernando says nice hat. He's talking to you, and that does look good, Chris.
Thanks.
Dylan Talks Tone sent us in $5. He says my Plek machine guy says you can do it on the frets with the Plek if they're big enough. Speaks to how small the tolerance is. And we've absolutely talked about that.
And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about some of that here in a second. But yeah, it is. And this goes back to those original drawings that I saw of this is a 7 1/4 radius and this is a 12-inch radius. Yeah. Okay. And really all you need to do is get a set of radius gauges and start holding them together and looking and man, the differences are minuscule.
Anthony Russo was in here today and he brought his 66 Gibson SG in for a new nut. And normally we don't do any repair work, but
we're working something out.
He had something on us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, I looked at his fretboard and I'm like, this thing's 50 plus years old. I cannot tell that it's a 12-inch radius. It wasn't really 12. It was
Not at this
closer to 10 at this
Yeah,
point after
uh-huh.
50 years of play
Yeah.
and wood shrinking and stuff like that.
Edge wear.
Yeah. So when I was shaping his nut, I set it up for a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then it all gets dialed in from there.
And yeah.
But yeah.
Doc sent us $20 and says, I have 4 guitars with Warmoth compound radius necks and many others with traditional fretboards. No difference to how they play once set up properly. Must be a pain in the ass to fret a compound radius neck. Doc, I'm glad you brought that up because that's where the real rubber meets the road when it comes to how to do this.
Yeah,
so
because it's one thing to create it in a nice, smooth piece of wood.
Yep.
It's another thing to bang frets in it.
Now you got to bang frets
and then finish those frets.
Yep.
So that they're all level with each other and they're all these different radiuses.
If you've ever done long range shooting, I think Doc, you have. People who are just starting out are terrified of elevation. Well, elevation is the easiest thing to get. That once you're like switched on, it's like, well, that's the easy part. What is the drop of the projectile? It's the wind. That's where you really start to get that. That's where the big boys worry is when it comes to wind. Guys who are novices worry about elevation. So if you're worried about how to create the fretboard, that's the easy part. It's getting the frets pressed in and getting them true. That's the tricky bit. So, because anytime you see a mallet, a hammer come out as the main fretting tool, turn around and run like hell. Huh?
Yeah, if you can do a lot of damage to a fret in a short amount of time with a hammer.
Yep.
You have to have used that hammer before.
Yeah.
In that task.
Getting to where unless you're really, really good, you can a little too much, and now that's lower than everything else, and the other end of the fret goes up, and you got to be good. So you need to use a press. And I suppose you could vacuum seal in frets if you're really.
You could probably use your same weird call. I mean, your radius call.
Yeah.
Your compound radius call.
So getting those. So yeah, Doc, you're right. Getting the frets pressed in and getting them right is tricky. And woe be unto you, doom on you if you have one or two that are poking up on the ends, because now you gotta find the right radius and get a call and glue it up and
yeah.
Okay.
All of this for a presumed benefit.
Yeah, for a theoretical advantage.
Yeah.
Now, and Dylan's 100% right. If you had frets that were 45, 48 thousandths high, knowing that the maximum deviation is 11 thousandths, you could easily do a 10 to 16 conical radius on a fretboard that was, in fact, you could even make it, you could do a 12-inch straight radius board, then it would be even less, and just do it with fret leveling.
Yeah.
And frankly, guys, if your fret leveling is done lousily, you could take a perfect 10 to 16 and you could make it a straight 12
That's
easily.
What you need to start doing is going around with radius gauges and checking not fretboards but frets.
Yep.
And see how accurate they are. I'm gonna get another beer because I'm gonna cough.
I'm gonna have one too if you don't mind, Chris. Legba sent us a super chat. He says, I had a 7 1/4 to 9 1/2. Can't really notice much difference. Also had 12 to 16. Just felt like a 12 to me. Yeah, and again, if you want to have a conical or compound radius, rock on. You should have one. But don't expect it to. You're not all of a sudden going to play like Eddie Van Halen did.
No. And like we talked about, get some radius gauges, and next time you put strings on your guitar, run all the radius gauges and check it at the first fret and go, man. It's if you've got a 10-inch radius fingerboard and you put a 12-inch radius on the first fret, you're going to be hard pressed to tell if it's 10 or 12 or probably even 14. And then as you move down, it becomes more and more obvious. but it's pretty fun because you know, a lot of times, you know, I'll take a guess, like if I'm doing a setup or you know, somebody brings a guitar in or something like that, I'll look at it and I'll go, oh, I think that's a 12, just based on something.
Yep.
But until I get the gauge out, I can't tell.
There are a lot of ways to measure your guitar. And guys, they're coming in fast and furious. Brian says, where's the guy last week who was saying compound is the only correct one? SS says he's playing with a penis pump right now. I'm gonna get, do you need a special pickup set of pickups because the compound radius? Probably not. And Mike says he's taking radius gauges to the shop next time and be like, what is this?
The guitar store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea.
Oh, here. Yeah. So, okay. Well, our good buddy is back in town. So Brian, there's your answer to your question. Conical radius, the Cannonball says conical radius is the proper testicle toast. Always wants to debunk anything he doesn't want to do. Well, that's one way to look at it. Although we'd be more than happy to. In fact, I have a neck through project going back there right now that absolutely has two things I didn't want to do. One of them is stainless frets, and the other is conical radius. I'm happy to do that if you're happy to pay me. Yep. So, yeah. In any event. And thank you for talking about my testes. I have no idea who you are.
Testes.
Yeah.
1, 2.
So
3.
let's talk a little bit about what have we missed here, Chris?
What have we missed?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we've covered it all. I think if that's what you want, cool. Be aware that you know, there are other things you need to change. You can't just you need to think about it. It's not as big of a difference as you may think.
It's not. That does not mean that it's not cool.
No.
We've never said it's not cool.
It's a more modern kind of a take on a guitar neck.
Yeah.
You know, and theoretically, the theory makes 100% sense.
I tell you what, you have to hand it to whoever it was that was the marketing guy who came up with that.
Yeah.
Because they sold a buttload of necks.
Yeah. But really, for it to work in practical terms, I think you'd have to have like a 5-inch radius to like a 30-inch radius.
Well, that would be definitely more
like
noticeable.
That. Well, yeah, for that, you know, oh, it's easier to play chords, but it's easier to do all this other stuff up here. Because really, I mean, and I think a lot of people, most people, you play near the first fret, you play in the middle, you play, it's minor. So
do high quality nickel frets really suffer that much in comparison to Yeah, they do. I mean, they stainless wears considerably less than nickel steel frets.
I'm even surprised at how much tougher the cryo wire that we use is than regular nickel. I had a chance to do a little fret work on a guitar with nickel frets, and it was considerably softer than you know. I'd never actually noticed it that much, but it was a fair amount. Yeah.
But again, we had a 66 SG in the shop today that had never been refretted.
Nope.
Frets are pitted all to hell and back.
Yeah, they're pretty worn,
and
they're not worn out.
They're not worn out. The guitar still rocks.
Yeah, you can still play. So
I want to leave you guys with two things before we wrap this video up, and that is that everything you liked in high school was not recorded with a compound radius fretboard. Okay. Everything cool was recorded with a straight radius neck. That does not mean that you can't play it without that, but it just means that somehow or another, the most awesome guitar parts in the history of the world were done with pretty ho-hum gear. Okay. The other thing is, Chris touched on this a little bit in the first part about you can't like put picks under stuff and kind of look at it and look. First of all, nobody can see. This is my sample size of the number of guys who come in here.
Size of everybody that's been to a class.
Yeah, you guys can't see, and so you have to have a tool that can measure stuff. And fortunately, there are outfits that make tools specifically designed for measuring stuff. Now, you can talk all the theory that you want, but until you can show me with any kind of digital scale that you've got it set up perfectly, you're going to have a hard time impressing me with this theoretical advantage.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
the phrase, "This neck feels chunkier than my other one."
Yep.
I'm going to need to see some numbers.
I'm gonna need to see your neck, and we're gonna need to actually measure
I'm gonna need
it.
to see, some calipers out with numbers on it.
So Stu Mac makes a action gauge. It's digital. It works perfectly. And if you go to the link on that under the link in the description below, you can buy one. And there you got to have that. In fact, you know what a really cool video would be, and we've talked about this a bunch of times. You and I set up a guitar, even if we set it up poorly, set it up and record every measurement on the guitar, take it to a guy and see what he does.
Yeah, I want to do the opposite of that. I want to take it to a guy that doesn't use that uses feeler gauges and kind of old school kind of things, and get it set up and then bring it back and actually do the measurements.
Yeah.
After that.
That would be good too.
Yeah, that would be fun too.
And you know what? I'm sure that there are guys who are really, really good who can do a good job. I bet you those guys are few and far between these days.
I would think more and more, and I think the reason is because there's cool tools now in which to measure things that aren't really all that expensive, especially if that's your job.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cannonball says, funny how you guys, this guy, you know what, dude, are you just going to dry up and blow away? You're actually really funny. I like your style. Thanks for coming on here and being a cool dude. Everybody loves you. And I wish that you would come to my birthday party this year. Okay. Mark in the mix says, I love that you say everything good has been recorded, was recorded with a straight radius. I'm old enough to know that I better not argue with you about that. Thank you, Mark. Okay. Anyway, guys, we want to talk a little bit about the $400 guitar building contest while we still have about 8 minutes to go. Participants are coming in. If you're such a badass guitar builder, whoever you are, I urge you to enter our contest. And even if you're not a complete dickhead and you want to join our contest, that'd be great too. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Oh, I need to stop. I just don't like BS. Well, okay. Good for you, dude. There's a lot of other YouTube channels out there, and maybe you should find one. So anyway, our $400 guitar building contest is coming up August 5th, and link rules on our website, and you can you can join up right on the website. And what's the gist of that?
The gist of the contest is you have $400 in which to buy all the materials needed to make the actual guitar. So that doesn't include money for templates or pencils or anything like that, but anything that actually is part of the guitar, you have $400 to put it together. So labor's not included. It's just materials, pickups, wood, strings, tuners,
and strap buttons. The entry fee to do the contest is $100. And whoever wins gets all the money.
All the money.
And right now it's like I think it's close to $2,000.
Yeah.
$2,200. Someone's gonna walk out of here with a buttload of money. That is gonna be fun.
So if you get an entry for a guy named Johnny Chaunchpad, it's not me.
It's not you. Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, we've got just a few more minutes. I would like to thank all of our sponsors, including Flipside Music, the great American guitar store. If you guys want to know what's going on at Flipside Music, every Thursday at 4:00 Mountain Time, Ike and Dylan will bring you up to speed with what's happening over at Flipside. And man, he's got all kinds of good stuff happening, brewing. Link in the description below. They're open every single day. I don't know what the hours are, but if you can't make it to the Legacy shop, their website is open 24 hours a day, and every single thing in the store is on the website.
Yep, and they have new and they have used.
They got a
huge amount of pedals. It's really cool.
I would
it's fun to just go and look and cruise.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of the,
to maybe want to buy something.
It's one of the last mom and pop guitar shops in the Denver area.
Yeah, I think it might be the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've also would like to thank Stuart McDonald, who is our newest sponsor, and link in the description below. Guys, if you're planning on getting something from Stu Mac, please do me a favor. Go through the link in the description below and buy whatever thing you're going to buy. And if it's one of the digital string height action gauges, you can thank me later. It's well worth the however much money
we should
it
do
is.
A video on that and show, because originally when we got it, we used it just for nuts.
Cannonballs keeps talking. He keeps yapping. He's like, show me people on YouTube that don't push. If he doesn't like bullshit, why is he watching?
Yeah.
Why?
Don't push
Here's how much of a liar you are. You don't like bullshit, yet you're watching me
for all the bullshit.
Oh my goodness.
We should do a video on that tool, because it's not just for nut height.
Yeah.
You can use it for other stuff too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really neat tool. And one of the things, you start measuring things and you start kind of recording some of those things, you can start seeing things that really do matter in the way a guitar plays.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I ever did,
more than just theory.
Yeah, more than just theory. You can go, oh, I kind of like, okay, I kind of like the action to be this, and I kind of like the action to be that. And with that tool, now it sounds like I'm a shill. You can measure it to the, it's not. You're not looking at a card on the side of the string that can change. You're not using feeler gauges, which
get close,
close. But this gets you. It tells you exactly what it is, down to the 100,000th.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe even more than that. It's a really
neat tool. Worthwhile tool.
It seems expensive until you use it a couple times, and then you're like, okay.
Some other worthwhile tools come from our buddy Steve at Maximum Guitar Works. Again, link in the description below. If you guys sign up for the $400 guitar building challenge, Steve will give you $100 worth of free templates. Very, very cool. Another one of our buddies who is sponsoring the $400 guitar building contest is Dylan McCurchie. If you sign up, you get 40% off pickups from Dylan McCurchie. Link in the description below. Even if you're not building a guitar for the contest, you should check his stuff out, because we use him on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow's reveal has a buttload of Dylan pickups.
Look for an order from Johnny Chunchpad, Dylan.
Yeah. I would also like to thank Odyssey Beer Works, the great American Beer Works. I'm going this weekend for the beer poking thing, where they put the super hot red hot poker in the beer. You going to that? That sounds fun.
Probably not, but
okay.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
All right. I would also like to thank Dan and Calvin at Tonewood Experts. I've been getting all of my acoustic stuff from Dan and Calvin at Tonewood Experts. And guys, by the way, if you're a Patreon or YouTube member, you can watch along with my acoustic build that I've been doing. I'm only releasing videos on Patreon, and YouTube members only are getting that exclusive content, because I think that's cool. I'd also like to thank John and Cheryl from Bitterroot Guitars. Link in the description below for Bitterroot Guitars. You can use all of the stuff from Bitterroot and Tonewood Experts, 15% off. The code is in the links. You can go there and check that stuff out. I'd like to thank Bill Hendricks from Spin Twist Paint Rig. Super, super cool. You probably watched that. I would like to thank our buddy from Queensland, Australia, Nigel Forstner, and his shop. If you guys want to read about how to make money selling or being in the woodworking business, check out his book. It's very cool. And of course, our brand newest sponsor, Cannonballs. Everybody go over to his website and show him some love. I'm sure he's got lots of awesome videos that you're going to want to watch. Go check him out, subscribe, tell him the guys from Texas Toast sent you. And ask him when his book comes out, because it's probably loaded with good information. Okay. All right. So gang, it is time for us to say goodbye. What else? Did I get everybody?
I think so.
Okay.
And I think we're about ready to go.
Guys, it's time to go and check out Dylan and his lovely wife, Dylan. Leslie. They're going to bring it home with all kinds of cool stuff. I have no idea what they're talking about tonight, but it's probably something very controversial.
It's always got something interesting too. And then, so they talk about the topic, and then in the second half they shoot the breeze and talk
just
about
kind of chill out.
Yeah, life and things that are going on, and that's always fun too, because so much of this is a community, and it's not just all guitars. I mean, it is for Matt and me, but no, it's about knowing people and getting to know people and liking people.
Yeah. Okay. All right, gang. Well, that was good. It was a good time to hang out with you guys talking about compound radius.
Yeah.
We will see you tomorrow for a reveal, and take care, everybody. I hope you have a great Thursday night.